Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea, the show where we take a look at some of the biggest news stories surrounding Chelsea in recent days. Before we get into those interesting stories, because there are a few to discuss and also ones that I want to hear your opinions in the comments below, I just want to give a shout out to the video I released on Wednesday, which was my discussion with George Benson. Really cool to have George on the channel, and like a lot of my guests, the longer form discussions I really love doing, especially during the international break. It's a great time to do them when there isn't any Chelsea match to talk about. So yeah, definitely let me know, because the positive response has been really encouraging, and let me know some guests you want to have on the channel, because it's something regular I want to keep doing and keep evolving, so I really enjoy doing it. And as well, my regular article for the Chelsea Echo is up as well. That is about Chelsea's winter curse and whether Frank Lampard can break it this year. Definitely go and check both of those things out. Links, as ever, will be in the description box below. But going into this week's story, and I think I really want to start with something that got leaked earlier in a week and has really got people talking, and has been reported by various sources. And today, The Athletic wrote an article about it. Liam Toomey, in fact, wrote an article about the fines that got leaked earlier in the week, the Chelsea fines that the players have to stick to, and all those lists of fines that came out. Originally, when it came out, I was sort of suspicious, because you're sort of like, this could be a fake list. But some of the stuff that did get listed did feel very sort of insider lingo, really, in terms of gym, in terms of body composition. And then it was basically confirmed that that was the case. That was the fines list. And what was interesting in this Liam Toomey article, which I definitely suggest you go and read, sort of going in depth about this and what Lampard's trying to create, and sort of his insistence on punctuality, I think is really interesting. But as made clear by Lampard's fine system, there is an immediate 2,500 penalty for missing the report time, and a further 2,500 for every subsequent 15 minutes that passes before the player's arrival. This means anyone late for the start of training would actually be required to fork out between 25k and 30k. The article goes on to say that when he gathered his Chelsea players together at Cobham during pre-season, Lampard stressed the need for them to show the same respect for the less heralded employees at the training ground, the canteen workers, the ground staff, the security guards, and so on. And really positive. I think it's encouraging to see. It's a good story, and I don't really want to sort of say, oh, this is so unique to Chelsea, because every club, I'm sure, at the top level does this, and it sort of fits in very nicely with the narrative at Chelsea at the moment. The players are working hard, we're getting good results under Lampard, and Lampard's really hoping to create something special and positive, and it fits in nicely. You know, if the results weren't going as well, this wouldn't really go into the consciousness that much, would it? Because people would be like, well, you know, you're not getting results because you're being quite strict, and being strict would be almost a negative. But, you know, we've seen Moise Keane at Everton get a fine recently. This is what clubs do. But I think it's just an interesting sort of look into the way Frank Lampard is managing and coaching this Chelsea team, and especially with younger players, the things he's trying to implement within there, you know, in terms of what he did when he was a manager. You know, there's some interesting quotes of Lampard about the way he goes about his life, and why he's become the top professional and legend he has. And it's all about, you know, respect. It's all about punctuality. It's all about hard work and persistence and consistency. All those things that I'm sure he's hoping to pass on to the likes of Mason Mount and Tammy Abraham, and so on. And I think one of the key things is merit being the only guiding philosophy at Chelsea. And I think we've seen that. I continue to talk about it. I'll probably say it 1,000 times before we get to the end of the season, but I truly do believe the idea of meritocracy is so important within a squad, especially with young players who are hoping to get their chances. And I think that's what Lampard, just across the board, is seeming to bring out. And I hope that this continues. And as I say, results usually determine these type of things. There was a thing in the article as well about Conte and his time, and him being much stricter in terms of nutrition and stuff like that. So I'm not, as I say, I'll stress again, I'm sure many clubs do this, but it's just interesting as fans, isn't it, to sort of get a peek behind the curtain, in a sense, and see what these players are required to do, and just to see what life is at Cobham, really. So I thought it was really cool. So definitely go and check out Liam's article. Really in depth, really interesting. And let me know your opinions in the comments below. The next story is about Willian and his potential move away from Chelsea, and as well his contract situation. So another article from The Athletic from Simon Johnson talked about Willian Willian and his contract situation running out soon. For the second season running, Chelsea have a decision to make about whether to keep an aging but influential Brazilian at Stamford Bridge. Head coach Frank Lampard has made it very clear he sees Willian as a big part of his plans at Stamford Bridge. The big question is whether the board feels the same way. In 7 weeks' time, Willian can officially begin talking to foreign clubs about the prospect of joining them on a free transfer at the end of the season. Now, we saw once again the Barcelona link at the start of the week, and this contract situation was similar to Luis last year, and of course we know what happened there. He did get the contract because Chelsea do have this sort of policy of only giving basically 1 year's contract extensions to players over 30, and then Luis got that, but then he left once Frank Lampard became manager. Willian, it's really interesting. I think if you would have told me in August or maybe before that, I thought transfer ban, we're going to keep Willian, but likely he will be moved on. And this may still be his last season for Chelsea, especially if the contract situation can't be sorted out and he wants to move at the end of the year. But I think it's so, incumbent on form, isn't it? Willian at the moment is one of the regular starters. He's one of those players at the moment that I want in this Chelsea team because he is setting standards high. He is leading by example as one of the older players. He had the armband for the Crystal Palace win and performed brilliantly once again. He really is doing things that at other times he hasn't, being consistent, being an influence, making key decisions in the game. And I think all of that is so important, and why he continues to be in Frank Lampard's starting 11. He's started, I think, the last 8 or 9 Premier League games consecutively. That is proof of what he is doing at the moment, and he is earning that spot. In previous years, maybe he would have started because there weren't any other options, or managers were not as confident in younger players to give a chance. Now he is truly earning that spot because we see Christian Pulisic, Hudson-ODOI and Willian. One of those three is going to have to sit out most of the time, and Willian continues to keep his place, and he deserves it. But of course, Barcelona have been sniffing around Willian for a long time. It's clearly a player they want to see, and it's clearly a move I'm sure like every player would want to do in their career. I'm sure it'd be a special thing for Willian to go to Barcelona and finish his career there. And it all, of course, all depends about the hierarchy at Chelsea. We see links to other younger wingers for big fees, and we saw the signing of Christian Pulisic. And if Chelsea are going to move in terms of recruitment for a younger profile player, that may dictate this decision with Willian. But if he keeps on playing well, if he keeps his standards high, sure, I'd like to see him maybe stay for a year. Of course, there are younger options, and it's so important that we're refreshing that period of the pitch. But we have this season, so having a player like Willian isn't as big of a crutch to me as it was in previous seasons, where we had basically 30-year-olds all lining up at the front of the pitch. Basically, for me, we are seeing much younger players, and the age of that team has been dropped down significantly. But you never know. Things can happen very quickly in football. Luis looked like a member of this squad and was going to start the season for Chelsea. And then literally within 24 hours, even less than that, he was on his way to Arsenal. But let me know your opinions on Willian. I know he is a divisive player, and what you think about his future. Let me know in the comments below. And the final story is about Alvaro Morata. Now, he gave some comments recently in an interview about his time at Chelsea and his frustration and struggles at Chelsea that were well documented. And before we go into it, I just want to give you his quotes. He said, "I was playing some games in England and I had the feeling that when I got into space, my teammates looked at me and I knew they thought I wouldn't do anything good with the ball. It was driving me crazy. I had a bad time. I've smashed my phone after games. I've got home and thrown it against the wall." Pretty honest, pretty sort of brutal honesty by Morata there. Of course, he's moved on to Atletico and he's doing well at the moment for Atletico. Morata, I think in one of my earlier episodes of Let's Talk Chelsea, I talked when his move was finally confirmed away, and it was just such a disaster, wasn't it? And of course, when he makes comments, and with it being the international break, there's been a lot of debate around Morata, and I've seen some people call him really dislikable. I sort of take a more relaxed approach. It was just an unfortunate thing that it never worked out. Now, I don't know the guy, I don't know the insides and out about what he was like at Chelsea. You can sort of take from quotes there that he maybe felt very unsettled. I've seen other quotes saying that he didn't really want to move away from Spain at the time, but of course was sort of because of Real Madrid really surplus the requirements there, and Chelsea came with a bid. We needed a striker, and he made the move, and it started really well for him. And then of course we all know, as history says, that it really plummeted and he never recovered. And it's just a shame, really. I think that it never worked out for Morata. But I think Morata probably is one of those signings in recent times that hopefully will be a real lesson to Chelsea in terms of player recruitment, of not just about, going for a player because of their name, but also, was he the best fit for what Chelsea wanted to do? I think that was a big problem as well. Did Morata ever fit into the style of football we wanted to play? Did he fit into the culture we wanted at the club? All of those things I think need to be taken into account, and I think that it's a shame that he looks back at that time. I'm not that surprised, to be honest, because what was it, a year? He won an FA Cup, didn't really feature in that FA Cup final at all. And then he was shipped out on loan by Sarri when he came in, and wasn't the first choice then, and we got Higuain in. And it's just a sad case, really, that it's ended so bitterly for him. But I don't feel as sort of so much animosity towards Morata as some do. It's one of those things, when a player comes to Chelsea, I wish they do the best, especially for a player as important as Morata was, and as high value as he was, and at times it looked like he was going to be the player we needed, and it just all went down a cliff very quickly. And I guess for his own personal career and sanity, it's nice to see that he's back to his form and he's scoring goals again, and it was just a split that needed to happen, didn't it? But let me know your opinions on Morata, his comments, his time at Chelsea. Do you feel more bitterness towards Morata than I do? Let me know in the comments below. So that is it for this edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Let me know your thoughts on everything I discussed in the comments below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again.